Mr. Cantone.
Here's Collins.
Mr. Cantone has 4 minutes. Brenda Purnell and Sabrina Thomas have yielded their time.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mayor Jacobs and Commissioners, for having us today. This will be a very important vote today on the direction of our county. And I've met with and spoken to many of you over many weeks, and I thank you for your time. Today, I don't really need to list all the realities again that we've already discussed. You all know there are more than 40 national and academic economic reports stating there is no local economic impact from publicly financed stadiums, and I've delivered many of these studies to you and your staff. In fact, many of the studies actually indicate that there could be a negative local impact as money from the surrounding local businesses will be sucked into the teams and venues. I don't need to remind you that the market for American soccer and the MLS is far different than the market for World Cup soccer. I don't need to remind you that last year's MLS championship game garnered less television viewers than a repeat showing of the World Series of Poker on ESPN. And I don't need to remind you that 2 previous MLS teams have failed in Florida and that the league lost $350 million in its first 8 seasons with still only a handful of profitable teams. You don't need me to tell you that the Austin Aztecs, now the Orlando City Soccer, just moved to our community a few years ago for the sole purpose of getting this stadium built in their MLS bid. And they will likely leave our community should you not vote to give them a stadium today. You don't need me to repeat the impact of gentrification and displacement in historic Parramore, because we've shown it to you, and if you still need more, I encourage you to just travel a few blocks and view it yourself. In fact, I'm sorry none of you were at the NAACP Town Hall just last night inside Parramore. In fact, no elected officials were at that meeting. And at that meeting, resident after resident, with over 75 people in the audience, decried the policies of our city. In fact, they even had some choice words about certain elected officials. Now, they also cried out about specifically against the soccer stadium in Parramore. The voice of Parramore was clear, but are you listening? Mayor Jacobs, you looked me in the eye in your office just a few months ago, and I believed you when you said, and I quote from the transcript, "I think the Parramore issue is an interesting issue. We can change Parramore, but have we helped the people who live in Parramore? Or have we just put them someplace else? Is that really fixing the problem?" End quote. After over $600 million being already invested in downtown venues, the average household income in Parramore has dropped to below the poverty line after the investment of already $600 million. Yet here we go again, time and time again, witnessing it right in front of us. To quote one of my favorite songs, no matter who you are, no matter where you go in your life, at some point you're going to need somebody to stand by you. Parramore is asking you to stand by them. Our county's most vulnerable are asking you to finally stand by them. So will you be part of the solution, or will you be part of the problem? We can solve this issue locally and help everybody, but not by funding a new soccer stadium in Parramore. I will end by saying I've been inspired by Pope Francis. As a Catholic, his message emphasizing listening to those suffering in the world strikes me deep in my heart. He urges we do more to seek out those on the fringes of society who need the help the most, recently saying, if we step outside of ourselves, we will find poverty. To the people of Parramore and all those who continue to suffer in the city beautiful, who see million-dollar handouts time again with no real benefit or change in their community, I want to urge you right now not to be robbed of your hope no matter how this vote goes today. To the commissioners on the board, I want to urge you to do the right thing. Who will you stand by, and who are you listening to? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cantone.